In my last video, I explained how you can create your own API using RapidAPI Studio and monetize it and even publish it on RapidAPI Hub. In this video, I'm going to discuss all the features of the API client inside RapidAPI Studio. For that, I've already logged in to my RapidAPI Studio account, as you can see. I'm going to click one of the APIs that I've already added. I'm clicking the users list API that I added in my previous video. RapidAPI Studio comes with an API client to help you debug your APIs quickly. It is web-based, so all you need is an internet browser and a working internet connection. Inside my API project, on the left sidebar, I'm getting this request icon right here. This is the built-in HTTP client that RapidAPI Studio offers. Let's now look at all the exciting features of this API client. The first is the API request, as you can see right here. The API client inside RapidAPI Studio allows you to create different request tabs. You can then use these tabs to test your API endpoints. Each tab has a similar interface. Like, let's click one of this request that I've already added. This is the interface of the request, which has different options. You can set the request headers, the body, the query parameters, and so on. Afterward, you can click on the send button to test the endpoint right here. Since in my previous video, I have added this users list API and in that, I taught you how you can add the endpoints and add the relevant data. So you're already getting these two requests. You can even create your own request by clicking this plus icon right here to add request, and you'll be directed to this interface. You can select the HTTP method from this drop-down menu, add the base URL in the search bar, add the description, the headers, the query parameters, body, auth, and so on. Since I've already added this users list, the get HTTP method endpoint, so I'm going to click that and I'm going to click the send button to view the response. On the right hand side, I'm getting a 200 status code that indicates that my API is working perfectly normal. Let's now talk about the other feature, the branches feature of this API client. RapidAPI Studio API client provides a branching feature that works almost the same way as the get branches. There's a main primary branch that you see and work with when starting to create API test. I'm clicking this drop-down menu. I'm getting this main branch right here. At any point along the way, you can create another branch. For that, I'm going to click this plus icon and I can add the branch name and create another branch. Since the new branch is created on top of the main branch, all the API tests inside the main branch will also be present in the newly created branch. And moreover, the new tests you create in the newly created branch will only be present here, not in the main branch. Let's now move to the cookie sessions section in the API client. The API client inside RapidAPI Studio lets the server store the cookies inside a cookie session. These cookies are automatically sent back during the subsequent request to the same domain. You can create multiple cookies sessions if you like. I'm going to click this icon right here, the session settings, and here can even rename the cookie, add the cookie, and even add a session. Each session can hold different cookies and can be used differently. The API client inside RapidAPI Studio allows you to create and manage production and staging environments for your APIs. You can set environment variables and use them as parameters during API testing. At the moment, for this API that I added, there are two groups, the gateway and the application. I can even add another group by clicking the plus icon. There is no cap on how many environments you can create. Also, you can configure each environment differently than the last one. Response filtering is another feature of the API client. Sometimes we have to quickly search through an API response to check whether it contains what we need. And if the response is huge, the whole ordeal can become difficult. For that, I'm going to click one of the API projects whose response is huge. So I've already added the JSON placeholder one. To show this response filtering feature, this is the filtering option right here. The filtering option asks the user to provide a JSON path expression. Once provided, the API client searches through the response, and if there exists a value that matches the expression, it shows it to the user. Since the response is beginning from 1 and then 2, so let's check it. And I have given a value and it has filtered me the 0th value in my response. Similarly, let's change this to 76 and this is the 76th value in my response. Let's go back to the users list API again. The next feature is generate API request snippets. Inside the API client of RapidAPI Studio, you have the option to generate code snippets to call your testing API endpoint. You can then copy these code snippets and integrate them into your application. By clicking this drop-down menu, you can choose any of the languages present. RapidAPI Studio supports 28 different languages, including JavaScript, PHP, Python, and so on. At the moment, I'm sticking to Node.js and Axios. And let's click this preview to see the code snippets. I can even copy it and integrate it in my application. In this video, I've explained about the API client feature present in RapidAPI Studio. In the next video, I'll explain about the testing feature of RapidAPI Studio, how you can test your APIs inside RapidAPI Studio and even sync your projects between RapidAPI client and RapidAPI Studio. So stay tuned.